Hey everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a spoiler-free review of Good by Perfect by Sara Barnard because I think this book just deserves so much more hype than it's getting and I really want to talk about it today. This book was actually published about a year ago in the UK, so you may have already read it, but it was just published in the US in January. And for that January US release, I got an e-arc from the publisher. Before we get into the review, if you're new to my channel and you haven't done so already, I definitely recommend subscribing and hitting the bell notification. That way you don't miss out on any new videos. I post new videos on this channel every week and they're always about books and they're always a good time, so I hope you subscribe and I hope you enjoy. Good by Perfect tells the story of two best friends named Eden and Bonnie. Eden is a child of the foster care system who has been adopted by some parents. She is not the best student and is also quite outgoing compared to her bestie Bonnie. Bonnie is kind of the opposite of Eden in so many ways. She is a goody two-shoes, straight A student who really cares about studying, cares about her exams, cares about her future, and she never steps a toe out of line. While they're completely different, they've found a footing in each other and they are the closest of friends. Or at least Eden thought they were. The story starts off with Eden finding out that her best friend Bonnie has gone missing, and not only has Bonnie gone missing, but she's ran away with her teacher. So this is a story of a student-teacher romance, but not in the way it's normally idealized and romanticized in media. This story is from Eden's perspective, the perspective of the person that was left behind. So we're not following the romance, it's not idealized. We're coming at it from a different perspective, which is so fresh and unique. Instead of being blinded by this love story and this romance, we're seeing the ramifications of this trope, or this thing that actually happens in real life. We're seeing the ramifications of something like this play out. I love that this book dismantles a toxic trope. It explores it, it discusses it, and it does it at a slower pace as Eden is kind of understanding what happened and how she feels about what happened. And by doing it in this way, it doesn't come off as preachy. It doesn't come off like it's trying to show you something. It's a story unfolding. It's Eden going through her journey of understanding how she feels about this, but it does provide a strong message for readers. We see Eden discover this big secret about her best friend, and she's completely conflicted about what this means about her, what this means about their friendship, and also what this means for Bonnie. Bonnie's peers at school romanticize what's happened, talk about this great love story they're having, and we also see Eden feel queasy anytime it's mentioned, not sure how she feels about it all. We see the tolls that Bonnie leaving leaves on her mom and her sister, on her family, and the community at large around her, including her school, including anyone who was in contact with her. Even though Bonnie didn't tell Eden that she was seeing her teacher and that she was gonna run away with him, she does get in contact with Eden, her best friend. And so Eden finds herself in this really tough place where she has to decide, do her loyalties to her best friend matter more, or does helping her best friend get back home matter more? And she doesn't know where she should be lying on this line. She doesn't know if she should be telling people or if she should trust Bonnie. As her best friend, she wants to trust Bonnie. Her loyalties should lie with Bonnie, but she feels so conflicted. And how she feels grows and manifests over the story. She works so hard for Bonnie and to try to help Bonnie and to try to process everything that's happening. Because even though Eden feels weird about this friendship, she trusts Bonnie and she thinks that if Bonnie's really in love, Bonnie has to make those decisions for herself, and she wants to believe that this is making Bonnie happy. Even as time goes on, she starts to discover more and more things that make her feel more and more uneasy about what's happening. As much as she wants Bonnie back, she wants Bonnie to not hate her, basically, and she wants Bonnie to be happy. So for a time being, she keeps her mouth shut. So she stays quiet, and she stays quiet through the police coming to ask her questions. She stays quiet through the media frenzy that blows up around the story. She stays silent around Bonnie's mom and people at their school, and she just stays quiet. Eden is not a perfect character. Every second she doesn't say something is a second that Bonnie is potentially in more danger. Is another second where she doesn't know what she's doing. It's another second where we could be bringing Bonnie home. And Eden is aware of that, and she knows she thinks she's making the right decision. Of course, she wouldn't be doing it if she didn't. But again, she's so conflicted. I'm going to say that a lot. She doesn't know what she's doing. She wants to. She's trying her hardest. She is torn up inside over what's happening and her feelings. Every second she doesn't say something, you as the reader get more and more frustrated. But I think that's for the best. Because again, it helps bring in the story in this not preachy mode. It's not like Sara Barnard is trying to tell you this is the right answer and this is the wrong answer. She's taking you through Readin's process of figuring out how she feels so that you can figure out how you feel. It helps send this message, dismantle this toxic trope, etc. by doing it in this way where you don't always root for Readin, but you see the journey she goes on and you go through her thought process and you see the other side of it. And when I say the other side of it, I don't mean like you see the love story, but you see why Readin isn't saying anything. You see why this trope is romanticized, why people think this is a good idea typically. And through Readin discovering how she feels, you see that dismantling of the trope of this thing that happens in society. You see Readin come to terms with what is destructive about this, what is an abuse of power. We see her learn about grooming, and we see her realize how manipulative this whole relationship is. We also see this toxic and not great relationship between Bonnie and her teacher in contrast to a healthy relationship between two teenagers who are fantastic. And so this relationship that we're contrasting against is Readin and her boyfriend, who are both teenagers and young and happy. And they have the healthiest of romances, and I'm all for it. Readin has an adorably humble, cute boyfriend of like 1 year or so, and they're so great together. They communicate, they talk, they confide in each other when necessary, they have healthy boundaries, they don't spend every second with each other. And by having this super healthy relationship, not only are you contrasting the relationships, but you see what a healthy, happy, young love story should actually look like instead of this weird thing Bonnie has with a person who's basically double her age. We also oftentimes explore the feelings Readin has that Bonnie never told her this. There's this rift in her friendship now, no matter what happens, even if Bonnie comes back and this whole thing blows over, which seems unlikely as every second progresses, but even if that were to all happen, Bonnie still had this incredibly huge life-impacting decision from her, and she hates that. It makes her feel awful. What did their friendship mean if you couldn't tell me the most important thing that was happening to you? She truly doesn't know where this leaves them, and this is something that kind of hangs over her shoulders the entire course of the book. Another thing you see Readin wrestle with is the depiction the media has of Bonnie whenever they're talking about this story, which is fantastic, one of my favorite things to explore in this book. The media often talks about how Bonnie is this sweet, high-achieving, academic, nice girl. And Readin knows that if the roles were reversed, this would not be what was happening. If Readin was the one that ran away with someone and the media were talking about her, she specifically says that she knows they would be talking about the faultings of the foster system and how a child of that upbringing couldn't have aspired for more, and they wouldn't ask if she was a good girl because they would have just assumed she wasn't. Readin sees the privilege that Bonnie's white middle-class life has provided her and her wonderful upbringing has provided her, and she sees how kind of crappy that is. She sees this privilege firsthand, and it kind of pisses her off. I like to see her explore that privilege and kind of hate it and just like talk about it. She can't do anything about it. She doesn't do anything about it, but she talks about it, and it's really fascinating. I also really loved seeing Readin's other relationships in her life besides with her boyfriend, besides with Bonnie. So she has an adopted mom, dad, and sister. She also has a blood sister, so they were both adopted together. Fascinating to see the differences in her relationships and how much she loves her mom and dad and how she talks about their upbringing of her and how connected she feels with her sister, her blood sister. And she even has this kind of divide with her adopted sister because she thinks her adopted sister is so perfect. And it's through these relationships and other events, but mainly through these relationships, that you see Readin kind of develop her thoughts on people. One of Readin's major flaws is she thinks she's a great judge of character. She thinks she knows someone and that her thoughts of them are the right thoughts of them. She doesn't take into account that they might tell her everything, that she might not know everything about them, or that people can change. Throughout this experience, she learns that that's not right. She learns things about people around her. She learns obviously a lot about Bonnie that she didn't know, and she discovers that her opinion of someone isn't always right. It's not the only opinion of someone, and they might not have told her everything. She might not have the full perspective, and she really grows in how she sees people and what lens she views the world and people through. Like I said earlier in this review, Readin isn't perfect, but she's all the more real for it because she is just a teenager. I love this book because it's quick, light, compelling read, but it also packs a punch in a subtle way. I keep talking about the message, but the message is there, but it's not like overpowering. It's so subtle. Talk about it dismantling this trope, but again, it does so subtly that it packs such a punch by the time you realize what it's doing. It can help teenagers for sure. Certainly this is a YA book, but also other people who may happen across this book who have previously bought into those student-teacher relationships, to those toxic love stories, and see why we should take a step back, or why that's not okay, and why we should stop idealizing, romanticizing, and enjoying those kinds of stories. If you couldn't tell by this pretty much glowing review, I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely think it's worth a read. So if you've read this book and you want to talk about it in the comments down below, definitely write a comment down there. Or if you plan on reading this in the future, comment down below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!